And continuing, sorry, I had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. The So Bobby, the we're discussing the idea of Babism. In 1844, he laid claim to direct contact with the hidden Imam, the 12th Imam figure, who was considered to be the uh, the next Imam in the 1,000-year cycle. And eventually, what happened is he his name was initially, the Shia clerics were very dismissive of this, and are the Bab persecuted, jailed, was imprisoned himself. And this was a map, but there was this battle occurring in the 80s between the Babis and Shia Islam followers in Iran. So some of the basic doctrines of Islam, which preceded is that first of all, Babis held that the essence of God, the divine unity, is unknowable and entirely transhuman comprehension, and that all that we can are its manifestations. Secondly, regarding the prophets, the Bab held that all prophets are in essence one. In other words, there's one universal intelligence or one universal reason behind all prophets. And these are some of the key ideas. Also, there was this idea that paradise and hell did not exist. So this was an interesting insertion. And also, there was this idea that when the world has outgrown the teachings of one manifestation, a new one will begin. So again, continuing with this, with this cyclical idea. Okay, so after the Bab's death, after he was murdered, after he was executed by firing squad, which apparently, in legend at least, took a long time because the bullets would not kill him, but eventually he was executed by firing squad. After his death, the religion divided into two different components. There was a schism, and the one was following Baha'u'llah, or Babiism, and then there was his successor, who was called Subi Azal. And this schism became this was a battle for the heart of this new sort of emerging religion. And essentially, what this was all about was who would claim the narrative, who would claim the religion itself. In William McAlew Miller's text, he discusses the story of the Baha'i as essentially being the story of the winning narrative of the schism, whereas the Subi Azal and Babism sort of dissipated, and now there's only several thousand followers of the Babi idea. Also, Dennis McEwen detailed sort of what he called the sort of nitpicky quality of Babiism. And what he discusses is that he believes that the Bab focused on sort of minutia too much in his laws and his writings, and as a result, it became too narrow and too much of what he calls a pietist movement. Okay, moving on to the Baha'i itself. So Mirza Hussein Ali Nuri uh, became the next leader, and his name was Bahula, which means the glory of God. And because he is the Bahula, the glory of God, he is not a prophet or a messenger, but rather he is one who has the manifestation of divinity, following the ideas um, of the Babis also. So the doctrines of the Baha'i can be summarized as follows. And this particular section of my presentation is indebted to Sayyid Ali Raza Naqvi. The doctrines may be summed up as follows. The Baha'is are opposed to mystic pantheism, and there's also this idea of, as we talked about, the progressive revelation, the first prophet being within the Abrahamic tradition being Adam, and then the prophets of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. We have Zoroaster, as discussed, mentioned briefly, Buddha. We even have Confucius, and these are all figures of divine manifestation, as discussed. Bahula wrote several famous books. One is called The Seven Valleys, or the Haftvidi. Another is called The Book of Certitude. That was 1862. The Haftvidi was 1858. And in these books, he discusses various laws and various messages of the Baha'i faith. When Bahula passed at a late age, his son Abdul Baha succeeded him and helped spread the message of the Baha'i further. And then, so that was his son, and then his grandson was Shoghi Effendi, who also helped spread the message outside of the original location of Iran and throughout the Middle East and throughout the world, and into North America and Europe and Australia and Asia. Both the son and the grandson also wrote their own texts. For example, letters written by Shoghi Effendi helped formulate the principles and the structures of the laws of the Baha'i. Okay, I'd like to discuss a few core beliefs and practices of the Baha'i faith. First of all, there's no real clergy in the Baha'i faith. Instead, the administrative capacities are organized by the House of Justice. It's a sort of a group of administrators. There is a 19-month calendar, each month consisting of 19 days. And in one of these months, the Baha'is are supposed to fast. A lot of the core beliefs and the practices are sort of similar to Islam, but are sort of simplified or tweaked in their own original way. Some of the moral and social principles of the Baha'i faith: the unity of the human world, the unity of all religions. So the Baha'i faith is very progressive and believes in the connection of all religions. That's a very important idea. There's also a need for independent search for truth and the need for religion to promote unity. Science and religion are seen as being in harmony. I sort of alluded to this earlier. And also, again, being a progressive religion, the Baha'i faith includes a call for the equal rights and duties of both sexes and also races as well. It does oppose sort of political involvement, but certainly the ideas of anti-racism are inherent in the Baha'i faith. Although the Baha'i do not have a particular script in terms of worship, they do recommend the erection of a temple, which is a circular dome consisting of 9 sections. There's actually a temple right near where I work, so this was sort of the originating idea behind my presentation. I was interested in their faith. Like Judaism and like the Abrahamic religions, there is this idea of a covenant between the Baha'i and God. And for the Baha'i, Baha'u'llah is the redemptor and is the, as I mentioned, the manifestation of God. So he has allowed this covenant to come to fruition. The Baha'i has no particular public ritual or sacraments or private rites. However, there are certain duties of the followers of the Baha'i. For example, as I mentioned, the fasting, that's a key idea. There's also daily prayers three times a day, and the readings of sacred texts. Also, meals should be taken together. There is a obligatory course that can be recited in any language. In terms of social or relation notion in the Baha'i faith, marriage of either sex allowed, and however, the consent of the husband and the respective parents is essential for the validity of this marriage. Divorce is permitted, but it is though it's approved of in Baha'i faith. There's also this idea of the Hajj or the pilgrimage in Baha'i faith, and this particular pilgrimage is a pilgrimage to the house in which Baha'u'llah stayed in Iraq, and the house in which he lived in Shiraz as well. A couple other small laws that I would mention. According to Baha'i, adultery is punishable by a certain penalty, financial penalty, and theft is punishable by deportation and imprisonment. Just to underscore one of the key ideas of Baha'i is the unity of God, the unity of religions, and the unity of mankind. And this is again the sort of the progressive quality of the Baha'i faith and how it's sort of an all-inclusive religion. Some have criticized the Baha'i for its patriarchal qualities, however, because the administrative sort of controlling factor or principle is men, mostly the Universal House of Justice, and also the faith was passed down patrilinearly or in a patrilineal manner. However, along the lines of the anti-racist ideas within Baha'i, it's notable that Alain Locke and even the jazz musician Dizzy Gillespie were Baha'i. Education is also a key aspect of the Baha'i faith, and kind of connecting this to the role of women. There's this idea that if only one person in a family can be educated, it should be the girl, because she can pass that education on down to her children. Geographic spread of the Baha'i, it is spread to about 7 million followers. Initially, the reception to the Baha'i was very negative, especially in Iran and the Muslim world. They were persecuted, killed, jailed, and even today they are persecuted in Iran. In particular, the Iranian government refuses to acknowledge the Baha'i faith as a religion. Instead, it is labeled as a seditious political group. And this particular focal point is, again, just this idea that there was a lot of persecution of the Baha'is in Iran for a second. After 1999, they were really persecuted. In Christian Judaism, they were less hostile um, to the sort of emergent religion, and there were some converts from Christians and Jews initially in Iran, and then Christians around the world. Part of the appeal is the attractiveness of the sort of the openness or the progressive quality of this religion. That this sort of push-pull quality is very interesting to potential converts. Some Christians were less responsive, however. One in particular was William Miller, a minister who was so concerned with Baha'i that he called them anti-Christian, and he mentioned that it lowered Christianity to a lower level, because he viewed the Baha'i as a potential rival for Christianity. As sort of the initial sense splintering of Islam, it has its own beliefs, and the beliefs are all inclusive and bring in people from other religions. So I would urge you all to check it out if you're interested. Thank you so much for your time. Happy New Year.